towering well over them as he stood erect, yet gaining no sense of satisfaction from that merely physical fact. "You have come." The words sounded as if they might be a part of some polite formula, so he replied in kind and aloud, "I have come." Without waiting for their bidding, he dropped into the same cross-legged pose, fronting them now on a more equal level across their dead black table. "And why have you come, Star Voyager?" That thought seemed to be a concentrated effort from all three rather than any individual questioning. "Why did you bring me?" He hesitated, trying to think of some polite form of address. Those he knew which were appropriate to their sex on other worlds seemed incongruous when applied to the bizarre figures now facing him. "Wise ones," he finally chose. Those unblinking yellow eyes conveyed no emotion. Certainly his human gaze could detect no change of expression on their non-human faces. "You are a male." "I am," he agreed, not seeing just what that fact had to do with either diplomatic fencing or his experiences of the immediate past. "Where then is your thought guider?" Shann puzzled over that conception, guessed at its meaning. "I am my own thought guider," he returned stoutly, with all the conviction he could manage to put into that reply. Again he met a yellow-green stare, but he sensed a change in them. Some of their complacency had ebbed. His reply had been as a stone dropped into a quiet pool, sending ripples out afar to disturb the customary mirror surface of smooth serenity. "The star-born one speaks the truth." That came from the Warlockian who had been his first contact. "It would appear that he does." The agreement was measured, and Shann knew that he was meant to overhear that. "It would seem, readers of the rods," the middle one of the triumvirate at the table spoke now, "that all living things do not follow our pattern of life. But that is possible. A male who thinks for himself, unguided, who dreams perhaps, or who can understand the truth of dreaming, strange indeed must be these people. Sharers of my visions, let us consult the old ones concerning this." For the first time, one of those crested heads moved. The gaze shifted from Shann to the ranks of the skulls, pausing at one. Shann, ready for any wonder, did not betray his amazement when the ivory inhabitant of that particular niche moved, lifted from its small compartment, and drifted buoyantly through the air to settle at the right-hand corner of the table. Only when it had safety grounded did the eyes of the Warlockian move to another niche on the other side of the curving room, this time bringing up from close to the floor level a time-darkened skull to occupy the left corner of the table. There was a third stirring from the weird storehouse, a last skull to place between the other two. And now the youngest native rose from her mat to bring a bowl of green crystal. One of her seniors took it in both hands, making a gesture of offering it to all three skulls, and then gazed over its rim at the Terran. "We shall cast the rods, man who thinks without a guide. Perhaps then we shall see how strong your dreams are, to be bent to your using, or to break you for your impudence." Her hands swayed the bowl from side to side, and there was an answering whisper from its interior as if the contents slid loosely there. Then one of her companions reached forward and gave a quick tap to the bottom of that container, spilling out upon the table a shower of brightly colored slivers, each an inch or so long. Shann, staring at the display in bewilderment, saw that in spite of the seeming carelessness of that toss, the small needles had spread out on the blank surface to form a design in arrangement and color, and he wondered how that skillful trick had been accomplished. All three of the Warlockians bent their heads to study the grouping of the tiny sticks, the young subordinate leaning forward also, her eagerness less well controlled than her elders. And now it was as if a curtain had fallen between the Terran and the aliens. All sense of communication which had been with him since he had entered the skull-lined chamber was summarily cut off. A hand moved, making the jeweled pattern. Braceleting wrist and extending up the arm, flashed subdued fire. Fingers swept the sticks back into the bowl. Four pairs of yellow eyes raised to regard Shann once more. But the blanket of the withdrawal still held. The youngest Warlockian took the bowl from the elder who held it, stood for a long moment with it resting between her palms, fixing Shann with an unreadable stare. Then she came toward him. One of those at the table put out a restraining hand. This time Shann did not master his start as he heard the first audible voice which had not been his own. The skull at the left hand on the table, by its yellowed color the oldest of those summoned from the niches, was moving. Moving because its jaws gaped and then snapped, emitting a faint bleat which might have been a word or two. She, who would have halted the young Warlockian's advance, withdrew her hand. Then her fingers curled in an unmistakable beckoning gesture. Shann came to the table, but he could not quite force himself near that chattering skull, even though it had stopped its jig of speech. The bowl of sticks was offered to him. Still no message from mind to mind, but he could guess at what they wanted of him. The crystal substance was not cool to the touch as he had expected, rather it was warm, as living flesh might feel. And the colored sticks filled about 2/3 of the interior, lying all mixed together without any order. Shann concentrated on recalling the ceremony the Warlockian had used before the first toss. She had offered the bowl to the skulls in turn. The skulls. But he was no consulter of skulls. Still holding the bowl close to his chest, Shann looked up over the roofless walls at the star map on the roof of the cavern. There, that was Rama. And to its left, just a little above, was Tyr's system, where swung the stark world of his birth, and of which he had only few good memories, but of which he was a part. The Terran raised the bowl to that spot of light which marked Tyr's pale sun. Smiling with a wide twist, he lowered the bowl, and on impulse of pure defiance, he offered it to the skull that had shattered. Immediately he realized that the move had had an electric effect upon the aliens. Slowly at first, and then faster, he began to swing the bowl from side to side, the needle slipping, mixing within, and as he swung it, Shann held it out over the expanse of the table. The Warlockian who had given him the bowl was the one who struck it on the bottom, causing a rain of splinters. To Shann's astonishment, mixed as they had been in the container, they once more formed a pattern, and not the same pattern the Warlockians had consulted earlier. The deafening curtain between them vanished. He was in touch mind to mind once again. So be it. The center Warlockian spread out her four-fingered thumbless hands above the scattered needles. What is red is red. Again the formula. He caught a chorus of answer from the others. What is red is red. To the dreamer the dream. Let the dream be known for what it is. And there is light. Let the dream encompass the dreamers falsely, and all is lost. Who can question the wisdom of the old ones? Asked their leader. We are those who read the messages they send out of their mercy. This is a strange thing they bid us to do, man. Open for you our own initiate road to the veil of illusion. That way has never been for males, who dream without set purpose and have not the ability to know true from false, have not the courage to face their dreams to the truth. Do so if you can. There was a flash of mockery in that, combined with something else, stronger than distaste, not as strong as hatred, but certainly not friendly.